6:30, January 14th, 2021. Sandy, you'll call roll, please.
Vice Chair Bartlett.
Here.
Board Member Judy Bory.
Here.
Samuel Graves.
Here.
Secretary Kraus.
Here.
Board Member Reisky.
Here.
Board Member Walters.
Here.
Board Member Wine.
Here.
All present.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda?
Yes. Yes.
Do I hear a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion to accept the agenda.
I have a question on the agenda. Under the meeting minutes, J, for the request for future agenda items, where Secretary Kraus had brought up the recommendations, that's not on this agenda that I see, is that going to be in the Librarians Report or a future agenda?
She's talking about,
I didn't catch all that.
yeah.
Pam,
I think
Sam,
she's
did you?
talking about.
Sounded like she
brought
was
up the
mentioning
recommendations
Pam's thing from last month.
last- You know, the things that she brought up last time. Were you going to talk about that in the Librarians Report?
Oh, okay. Hi, Lori. This is Pam Harrison, Library Director. I will discuss those things in the Librarians Report, so that's why you did not see it listed in the agenda.
Okay, that's what I wondered. So then I make a motion to second the acceptance of agenda?
Okay, who made the motion?
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Jeff Bartlett.
Yes.
Judy Bory.
Yes.
Samuel Graves.
Yes.
Pam Kraus.
Yes.
Vivian Reisky.
Yes.
Vera Walters.
Yes.
Lori Wine.
Yes.
Pass.
Okay, agenda's accepted. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the December 10th meeting?
Yes. Yes.
Any questions, concerns? Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
I'd like to move that we accept the minutes for December 10th, 2020.
I
Okay,
second the motion.
Jeff Bartlett.
Yes.
Judy Bory.
Yes.
Samuel Graves.
Yes.
Pam Kraus.
Yes.
Vivian Reisky.
Yes.
Vera Walters.
Yes.
Lori Wine.
Yes.
Okay. Minutes are accepted. Call to the public, but I don't see any public. So let's go on to correspondence, communication. Pam, do we?
There's nothing for correspondence and communications this evening.
Okay, thank you. The Librarians Report.
All right, so let's get started with the Librarians Report. I'm trying to get my microphone to be near my mouth. The first thing I'm going to show you is the monthly report, which was included in the email that was sent to you from Sansi. We began showing these last month. And if you had a chance to look at it, you'll see that our circulation numbers, as well as our visits and new patron card statistics, are pretty consistent from what they were last month. In fact, they're just a little bit higher than they were. Did anybody have any specific questions about anything that was on the monthly report? And I can scroll back up or down if you need me to look at something more specifically, and I believe it's also in your packet of handouts.
I noticed that you're doing the culture passes again, and that's great.
Yes, it's a limited number. I believe it's 2 that are now accepting visitors through the Culture Pass program, and it's also by a reservation system.
Okay.
So once the Culture Pass is checked out, it's up to the patron to contact that organization and make a reservation for the visit.
And they have how many days to use that pass?
They have 7 days to use it.
Okay.
Say, Pam, is there anything in this report you thought was noteworthy or?
This month, not particularly. It was pretty similar to last month, which is, I didn't see anything that, any outliers or anything. So we did have some new programs which did quite We had our countdown to noon on Zoom, which is the preschoolers' way of celebrating the new year. So they, instead of standing up to midnight, they have to stay up till noon. And they did some activities with them virtually through Zoom. As you can see, they had 30 in attendance on that. Chicka Chicka Zoom Zoom is actually a virtual story time that we're doing in collaboration with the Maricopa Public Library and the Coolidge Public Library in partnership with First Things First. So that is actually a story time that is available across Pinal County, or basically to anybody that gets the Zoom link and wants to watch it. So they did 2 of those and had 26 in attendance. Tucson Santa, I wasn't at the program, but I saw the pictures, and he looked spectacular, and I guess the kids had a great time. Were you there, Pam?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. So we've had some good statistics on programs, regardless of being in a pandemic.
Well, and also because you were closed a few days too, you know, so that makes your, this month pretty good.
Yes, that is true.
Is there any chance you could run that noon program for adults?
Which one?
For seniors, the one counting down to noon?
Yeah, you want to count down to nap? I'll mention that to Vicky, our programming librarian for adults. She'd probably love it. Did anybody else have any other questions?
I had a question about the mobile library.
Yes.
I live here and I've never seen any promotion of it, so I was just curious how you're promoting that, because that's probably something that I know a bunch of people would be interested in that live in my neighborhood.
Yeah, we promote it on our website and on our social media outlets, and also in-house through flyers and our monthly calendar. This month was not a good month for it, probably because it started getting colder. But I'll talk about the mobile library in a couple minutes, because we do have some new developments with that. Of course, promotion's always really hard right now because of the pandemic, and also because we lost our newspaper. So we're still trying to find some new innovative ways to get the word out about everything that's going on and to drive more traffic to our social media and website. Okay. Well, if you think of any other questions, let me know. Or did you have one? Okay.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay, thank you, Pam.
You're welcome. Okay, and I got some more in our librarians report.
Okay.
We've been receiving a lot of phone calls about whether AARP will be coming to the library to do taxes this season. As you're probably aware, it's one of our most popular events that we do throughout the year. We've been in contact with AARP, and they are hoping and planning on coming out to do tax preparations in February. However, we don't have all of our ducks in a row yet, or they don't. We're hoping that by the beginning of next week, we'll have a plan in place to have them come back to the library, but in a much different service model than they would normally do. If you've ever had your taxes done through AARP at the library, you'd know that they take 20 reservations at a time, and that whole group of people will come in, and it's kind of they have to fill out a form, and then I think they take them on a first-come, first-served basis for an hour or two until they can get their taxes done. Well, since we can't do that right now, they are having what they're calling a virtual low-contact model of service. And what that means is that appointments are required, and they're planning on doing 15-minute appointments per taxpayer. So when the taxpayer arrives at the library, they have to have that appointment, so it'd be like 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:30, and so forth. They will have all of their documentation with them and have their ID checked. Their documents will all be scanned right there at the library, and then they will leave, and the tax preparation will be done by AARP remotely, and they'll have contact with the taxpayer via virtual means like Zoom or Skype or whatever service they're using, or voice using phone if that person's not able to use a virtual service. After they have finished the tax returns, they contact the taxpayer to come back in for another 15-minute appointment at a later date to sign off on their returns, and then that is the end of the contact. And AARP does have their own requirements, regardless of any mandates that are being imposed by the city or the county that they're going to. So taxpayers must wear a mask or shield, and the tax volunteers will be sanitizing and washing their hands between every appointment, and also socially distancing themselves from the taxpayer during the appointments. So like I said, they are almost to the point where they're ready to take appointments, have us take appointments for them. We just have not gotten to that point yet. We usually start taking those appointments on the first day of January that we're open. So we've been receiving a lot of phone calls. Trish over here is our circulation and acquisitions supervisor. She actually created a voice recording to put onto our phone so that people get notified that we're not taking appointments yet because the phone was just ringing off the hook all day. So that's been very helpful, and we hope to hear back from AARP within the next couple of days, so we can hopefully start getting those appointments scheduled.
Pam?
Yes.
If you have a flyer, could we have some for the Chamber of Commerce?
Of course.
Because that's where they come in and they've been asking.
Yes, I'm sure they have. Yeah, we haven't been able to make anything yet because of the fact they weren't sure. We're still not sure what days they're going to come, and we're not sure what hours they're going to be there. And of course, they're going to be able to see a lot less people than they have in the past. But as soon as we get that figured out, we'll make sure that we get some to you at the Chamber.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other questions about AARP tax aid? Okay. I just mentioned a couple minutes ago that there's new developments with the mobile library, which is what we call our bookmobile now. We were calling it Web on Wheels. We're trying to kind of now rebrand it as a mobile library because we do want to get the message out that not only are we providing free Wi-Fi access and checking out hotspots, but we also have books on board, craft bags for kids, and we're going to be increasing our services on that as we go along. But the new development is that we will next month be partnering with the Apache Junction Unified School District. You might be aware that they're doing curbside meal pickups on Wednesdays at 2 of their schools at Four Peaks between 7:30 and 9 a.m. Parents or caregivers can drive through and get 5 free breakfasts and lunches for their kids for the week. So we're going to be at Four Peaks during that time with our mobile library, so we can let people know that the library is open and they can get library cards while they're there. If they don't have one, they can renew their library cards. We'll have some books to check out. So we're really excited about that. And then we'll also be at the high school on 2 of the Wednesdays, also during the month of February, between 3:30 and 5. We're planning on doing the 2nd and the 4th Wednesdays of the month in February. So we're hoping to get the word out about the bookmobile, about the mobile library, and about the library being open. Any questions about that?
Are you going to have flyers letting people know that you can do those little, I don't know if they are, free internet to take home for 30 days?
We have flyers and, the hotspots.
But, yeah.
We have it on, the same thing as like Vivian said, we have it on our website, on our slider that's on the main page. We have information on social media. We probably would be a good idea to let people know, maybe a small quarter sheet flyer when they come to the mobile library, that we do have a limited supply, but that they are something that they can now check out the library. So I'll make a note of that, to have that as a flyer to hand out at the schools, and also to patrons at the library when they come in. All right, the last couple of things, getting back to last month's meeting, request for agenda items. Pam Kraus had asked about 2 different things. One of it being, she gave me some information about a library, and I failed to bring the article with me at the moment, but it was in, I think, a Midwestern state. Do you recall where it was from, Pam?
No.
I don't either. I want to say Ohio, but it was a library that had purchased a UV ultraviolet light sanitation machine that claims to kill the coronavirus. It was approximately $5,000, I believe, for the machine, and I think it could clean up to 10 books at a time. Being the librarian I am, I did some research on the machine and looked up the make and model and the manufacturer and went to their website and did some research on what claims are they making the machine can do, and they don't necessarily claim that the machine can kill the coronavirus. They're kind of skirting the issue. They will say that it can clean 99.9% of whatever. It's kind of like those commercials that you see on TV currently. It's saying that they can kill germs and disinfect, but they can't necessarily kill all of the viruses. I wasn't satisfied with the research in terms of spending that much money on something that I'm not 100% sure that it would necessarily work. I would definitely want to wait a little bit longer. I might even reach out to that library to see what prompted them to purchase the machine and what kind of, I don't know how they can prove that it's actually killing the virus. Did you have anything to say about that, Pam?
No, I just thought, and I was wondering, with everything going on, if it would be a good investment or not in the future for us.
Yeah, when the virus first hit in March, the past director, Spencer Payton, he actually was looking into some of those machines as well, and kind of found the same thing. And I was hoping at this point, since it's been almost a year later, they may have made some improvements, some headway with them, but I wasn't still sold on the idea yet. So it's something that we'll definitely keep investigating as the time goes by. And the second thing was about information or program or event concerning helping customers, patrons, community members find out information about side gigs and side hustles, correct?
Sure.
Yeah.
That. Just some way to make money from home with the economy being the way it is.
Exactly. And actually, Sancy and I talked a lot about it, and she did a ton of research.
I volunteered.
She volunteered to do a ton of research. We did find there's a lot of different types of them in terms of ways to make money. Some of it involves, like Instacart and grocery delivery, those type of things where, you have to sign up and be like an employer with a service. There's, taking surveys online where some people, can earn not a whole lot of money, but some spending cash, I guess, for taking surveys on different websites and gift cards and those sorts of things. What was the other one?
Transcription.
Yes, transcription was a big one. You have to take several tests, we found out, because she tried one, to see if you could pass the test and be able to be a transcriptionist.
How'd you do?
I failed because I was trying to rush through it because I thought, oh, I can do it because, I've been doing it for years. And so I didn't read all the directions that they were given, and I kind of just skimmed over it and go, okay, yeah, I got it. Well, they didn't tell you that you only get 3 times to take the test.
Oh, okay.
And you have to get a perfect score. So there's only 10 questions. I think the first time I missed 2, the second time I missed 3, and the third time I missed 2, and they said, oh, you can't take it for another 30 days, see ya. And that's what happened. So I feel kind of bad because they did say in the prep work that you needed 2 to 3 hours of review before you took it. I think I did 20 minutes. So,
Close enough.
yeah.
And I'm sure all the companies are different. I'm sure they're not all that
True, they are
that
very different.
difficult, but I did talk to Vicki Durain, who's our adult services supervisor and librarian, about what ideas or what ways can we think of to get this information out to people, whether, is it something we might want to do like a virtual, like a video on that people can watch on demand? Or is it something that they would want to do like a Facebook Live type of video? Or it could be, you know, people signing up to learn about that stuff via Zoom. It could just be like a bibliography of different places where you can go online and you can investigate those yourself. So she is thinking about it and looking into different things. So I think it's a great idea. I think it's a lot of people are looking at that type of information right now, especially when they have a lot of more downtime and are stuck at home. So we are working on it, and if you have any more ideas or suggestions on how you think that would be best distributed or best marketed to people, I would love to hear your suggestions.
Thank you.
What about a podcast or something like that?
Oh, we have done a few podcasts at the library this past year, so that would also be another avenue. So
Do you have a lot of people coming in, doing a lot of self-help books and items like that, trying to figure out how to do it? Do you know?
I don't know for particular. Do you know, Trish, have you seen a lot of those types of things getting checked out?
A little bit. A while back, Alon at the city had gotten a grant for entrepreneurship. And at that point in time, part of the grant included a small budget for materials. And so we purchased a lot of materials on entrepreneurship, some of it focusing on physical business and some virtual. So we did beef up our collection there, and that was about 1.5 years ago. So we do have the items in our collection, but I'm not seeing a whole ton of it going out. But I'm only there just an hour or two a day, so.
Might be a good idea to do a display on that type of material too.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, we did display it there for a while, but, you know, that was about 1.5 years ago.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
And unless there's any more questions, that's all I have tonight for the librarians report.
Okay. Is there any old business that we need to discuss? Okay. New business. We've got some business here, library procedures revision and possible addition of equipment and use charges.
In your packet, you'll see a page that says library procedures, followed by a table of contents, which is also on your screen. Trish Pelletier is here to go through the procedures with you this evening in terms of the revisions and possible addition of equipment and use charges.
Okay, so a lot of the changes, part of it was just over time, you know, different things have changed in our environment, technologies, and we want to kind of expand our services to our patrons in our community. So to make it a little easier to get a library card, we, on number 2, where it talks about proof of address, we're kind of trying to decide how to best explain this. We have an easy access card, and we have regular cards, and we have non-resident cards. And we're going through and identifying the different parameters that a patron qualifies for each of these cards. So either way, picture ID for a regular library card that would include a non-resident card is required. Proof of address, so a utility bill, postmarked mail, anything along that lines can be used. No general delivery, federal, county, or state park address is acceptable for residences for a regular or non-resident card. And item 2, a current address of residence is not in Pinal County or in a reciprocal borrowing area, a non-resident card or a limited use easy access card can be issued. So an easy access card has limits, and that's all outlined in here. In number 5, we talk about seasonal residents. They need to be in the Pinell County area 1 month, 30 days from the date of application to obtain a regular card at no charge. So an easy access card is an easy way for someone who does not have proof of address on them at the time, or finds themselves without an address. They may be using general delivery, and they can still get that card. It just gives them a limited number of items to check out. But they still have full access to the computers and our electronic services, like the ebooks.
Quick question on the easy access and seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
What's the time frame of how long they can have that card for, or do they have to renew it?
Just read it
Sooner.
once a year.
Same as, okay.
Yeah, same as, it's just a great way as people maybe change phone numbers or change cell phone carriers, because they may want text message notices, so we have to keep up with that.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're not going to know how to contact them.
Okay.
Is the renewal written down on here?
I believe it's in another section.
Okay.
Okay. So on the next page, loan periods and limits. We included 28 days and 36 days. The 28 days is for hotspots, and the 36 days is for our book club kits. So let's have a large number of titles in there so that the book club's going to have those. Everything else is staying the same up to number 4. A total of 20 items may be checked out on a regular library card. A regular library card is also a non-resident card. Subject and format limits may be imposed by the staff. Number 5 identifies the easy access card. So that is a total of 3 items may be checked out on a limited use easy access card. Subject and format limits may be imposed by staff. Any questions? So on the charges schedule, we now have a large format poster printer. So we've identified the sizes and the cost. There is also a cost under other fees, failure to pick up an interlibrary loan of $1. An interlibrary loan is an item that we have borrowed from another library system outside of Pinell County or outside of Arizona. Any questions on the fees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know during the pandemic, there's been some fees being waived, and is any of this gonna override that, or is there a certain date until they're gonna be waiving fees until?
We no longer charge late fees, so there isn't any fees with that any longer. The only fees involved would be for physical items like copies. Any other fee would be if the item is not returned, and at a certain point, they go into collections, and a collection agency takes over from there.
And is that from like a certain time from, just because of the pandemic, or is that just gonna be going
That's
from
in
now
general.
on?
That's in general, and
Okay.
that's something that we've had in place for a number of years.
Okay.
Okay. So in interlibrary loans, a patron must have a current regular or non-resident library card because we're getting materials from outside of our system. And some of the easy access cards, there just may be a little bit of a risk there. So there is a limit of 6 interlibrary loan requests per patrons at a time. And on number 7, because our computer system does electronic notifications, we updated it to include that. Any questions so far? So in the conditions of use procedures for library or equipment, there are some reductions there because we no longer have that service because technologies have changed. We've added computers. Like we do not have the literacy computers that we had before because that software is ancient, it's gone. Reference staff has priority on reference center computers. The reference center is gone after many years because it went away when we did some remodeling. We now have our service desk and we have many, many computers throughout the library. And due to technologies, we do not have to do the same sign up that we did for computers. So we eliminated the ID because now it's just a library card. On page 7, a patron whose bodily hygiene is offensive so as to constitute a nuisance to other people may be asked to leave the building. We're not going to require, we're just going to ask kindly. And it doesn't happen too often. On page 8, talks about the Kurzweil 3000. We no longer have that. Is that correct, Pam? It's old technology and gone. And I believe that is all of the changes.
That is all the changes for the library procedures. Thanks.
Yes.
I'm going to briefly show a couple changes. Due to the changes that we'd like to make to the library procedures, it would require us also to make a few minor changes to our circulation policy. Now, our policy is more general than our procedures that Trish just went over. So this is what we post on our website as our general policies. Our procedures are a little bit more in detail, and then what our staff does to do normal operations every day, we call our processes. So the changes that we'd like to make to the circulation policy so that they align with the library procedures that Trish just went over would be to change a letter D, requirements for obtaining a library card. All full-time students attending school within Apache Junction School District boundaries, including CAC, Superstition Mountain Campus, and charter schools within Apache Junction city limits. We'd like to add that since that is a service that we've been doing for quite a while, and it's just never been added to our policy. And because we're now issuing those easy access limited use library cards, we'd like to add letter G, which just states that all individuals residing outside Pinal County who desire a limited use library card are eligible to get a card. It would just be a limited use. And then number 2, we would change to say that applicants not meeting the above conditions may obtain a full use library card for a fee. So the only thing that we changed in that is that we put in the words full use because of the fact that we now offer the limited use library card for free. So that just requires a little bit of language modification. The rest on here is just basically a couple grammatical edits and a couple of terminology edits. A lot of the times in this policy it referred to books, but we now know that the library has lots of other materials besides books. So books has been often replaced with the word items or the word materials. And we have some materials that don't circulate. They're designated reference books. We also have equipment that also is designated as in library use only. So we added that to letter G on the next page. And lastly, we took out all charges on patrons' cards, including but not limited to assessments, on damaged or lost items. We took out that first part because we no longer charge overdue fees. So now it just says charges for damaged or lost items. And number 8, we added the words or to collect other library charges, because we do charge for damages as well as lost materials and copies and some other things that you saw in our fee schedule. So are there any questions about the minor changes that we'd like to make to the circulation policy? Yes.
Yeah. So going back to last month here, kind of what I was bringing up here. So I was just wanting to make a request here. So if you look at 1B, right?
On the circulation policy right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what I was thinking is, this is just a suggested change here. Maybe change it to all individuals owning business or residing within the Apache Junction city limits. I'm trying to see, is that probably something we can do?
So if they own a business right now in the Apache Junction city limits, they're eligible to get a card, but they don't necessarily need to have their residence here. So,
I'm trying to add the residents.
The residence is in A.
yeah, the residence would
That's
be,
Pinal County.
which is also, the Apache Junction city limits is in Pinal County. We offer free library cards to anybody that lives in Pinal County. They don't have to live just in Apache Junction. So they could live in Coolidge, they could live in Florence, Casa Grande. Any of those residents are able to get an Apache Junction card. However, they cannot have an Apache Junction card and then another card at another Pinal County library. They have to choose which card they want. I am correct in saying that, aren't I,
Right,
Trish?
they just need to decide what their home library is going to be. We offer services that may not be available at another library, and they just need to make a determination who their home library is. But anyone in Pinal County can have a free card.
Yeah, that's the last time I'm gonna push that issue there.
I guess I'm not understanding how adding residing is gonna change the meaning.
It was just from last month, because I was just wanting to clarify that confusion from last month so it doesn't come up again.
Right, about the Apache Junction city limits.
Yeah, because I know we're divided into 2 counties.
Right,
So I was just trying to make sure we're including the whole city and not just part of the city.
right.
I know it's a majority part that we are including, though.
Everybody in the Apache Junction city limits, right? And then that small annex, or that small area that's outside the city limits, where you live, is also included to get a free card.
Yeah, where's that listed?
That is letter E, all residents included in reciprocal borrowing areas or groups as established by the board.
Oh,
And then that gets more specific as to what those groups are in the procedures.
okay.
Okay, so that, my comment on that would be then that perhaps in that, so you're referring to page 1 of the procedures, so that maybe you define reciprocal borrowing area? Because if that's what you're referring to as that tiny area of 300 people or whatever, is as the reciprocal borrowing area?
Yes, they are the reciprocal borrowing area.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there a way to define reciprocal borrowing area, maybe in writing?
We could in the procedures. We try to leave the policies more general so that we don't have to change them as often. But the first page, this is the first page in the library procedures. We have if current address, number 2, if current address of residence is not in Pinal County or in a reciprocal borrowing area, we could put in there, not sure what we would call that area, but what would we call that, Trish?
What is it?
The area that
Maybe-
along Meridian,
Yes,
Yeah.
so those,
those 300 residences.
right, they are within the city limits, they're just in Maricopa.
And Maricopa
County.
County.
So they are still within the city limits, so that would still be included.
Okay.
Right. So maybe,
Is there another
we'll just
reciprocal
say
borrowing area?
say,
Not that I'm aware of, that's the only one.
I'm sorry, Lori?
oh, I was just gonna say, maybe just say, it's not in the Pinal County or in the city of Apache Junction, instead of saying reciprocal borrowing area, because I don't know what that means,
Okay.
reciprocal.
Jeff?
Yeah, so I think Lori makes a good point here, and I think a good idea would be to somewhere at the bottom define reciprocal, and based on the city limits, maybe something like similar to wording, maybe a reciprocal borrowing area is including residents of Apache Junction west of Meridian Road.
Yeah, but there may be more. We don't
Right.
know.
There could be in the future. At the moment, there is no others.
True.
So we could put that here and define reciprocal borrowing area in number 2 in the procedures. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, because most staff members are probably not going to understand this legal language here.
Okay. Would you like me to go back to the drawing board with Trish and re-edit that small portion and then come back with that edit
But-
for next month?
But staff would be trained to know that
Yes,
area.
they are.
So, I
We've
mean,
been doing it for
for
years.
years.
Yeah, reciprocal borrowing areas at one time included a lot more areas when there were different cooperates out there and organizations, but a lot of those disbanded, but leaving it in there leaves the opportunity for further reciprocal borrowing agreements.
And then we're also having if you heard about the land trust, you might want to make sure they're aware of that too.
Well, that's Pinell County.
Okay.
Yeah, that is in Pinal County. We may be able just to add the word city limits.
Okay. At this point, we would need to continue with the next part of the new business, if you want to read that.
Discussion and possible vote on revisions to the library procedure manual and addition of equipment and use charges.
Correct.
Any comments?
Yeah, I was gonna ask here, because this second thing here, so discussion and possible vote on, okay, I see library procedure, and what's the addition of equipment and addition of equipment here? Are you guys purchasing anything else here?
That was the large format printer, which we've actually had just for staff use to make posters. But now we'd like to add that as a public piece of equipment for patrons to be able to print.
Is that in this thing here?
That is, it is on the library procedures page.
4.
Thank you.
And you said, what kind of printer?
It's called a large format. It's basically a poster printer. So it prints 24 inches wide by 36 inches in length. And there's different weighted paper you can get for it and different matte and glossiness. So we, based on cost of what it would cost us to purchase rolls of that paper, we came up with the following fee schedule.
Can I ask who usually does that with you guys? Makes their poster? Is it businesses? Is it schools?
Well, we haven't had the service yet, so this
You
is a
haven't
new
had it.
service, so yeah. We're not sure who would use it at this point, but it could be, you know, a student who wants to do a presentation and has a poster for their presentation. It could be a business. It could be a lot of different things.
What was the cost of the printer? Or,
I'd have to go back to the budget. I don't even know what year it was purchased in.
oh, so it was already purchased.
Yes, we've had it for the staff to make posters for our different events. It's been there since I've been with the library, which has been almost 7 years.
Okay.
Are we ready to do a vote?
Any
And if
other
you-
comments? Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the revisions to the library procedures and additions of equipment and use charges?
I'll make the motion that we do.
And I'll second that motion.
Jeff Bartlett,
Yes.
Judy Bory,
Yes.
Samuel Graves,
Yes.
Pam Kraus,
Yes.
Vivian Reisky,
Yes.
Vera Walters,
Yes,
Lori Wine.
Yes.
And the motion passes.
All right, thank you.
good job.
And just a side note, I will go back and change number 2 up here, though, to include the city limits for the reciprocal borrowing area, to make it more clear.
I say, good job.
Oh, thank you.
Very,
Good job, Trish.
Thank you.
very thorough.
Yes. Okay, is there any items for future agenda? Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to move that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Need a second?
She did.
She- Okay. 7:17, I adjourn this meeting.